My name is Jonathan Clark. I'm 32 years old, and I used to believe that trust was the foundation of every meaningful relationship. I worked as a senior project manager at a software development company in downtown Chicago, earning a solid six-figure salary that let me live comfortably in a Lincoln Park condo. My life looked like the perfect American dream. I was weeks away from marrying Megan Davis, the woman I believed was my soulmate. And my relationship with my father, Robert Clark, was everything a son could hope for. He was my hero, my mentor, and the man who taught me that integrity mattered more than any paycheck. My father, 60 years old, was a respected real estate broker who had built a strong reputation over 3 decades in Chicago. He and my mother, Mary, had been married for 35 years, the kind of marriage I always wanted to emulate. Robert was the gentleman who still opened doors, kept his promises, and never missed a single one of my baseball games growing up. When I introduced him to Megan 2 years ago, he welcomed her with open arms, treating her like the daughter he never had. Megan, 30, worked as a marketing coordinator at a boutique firm in River North. She was smart, beautiful, and loved weekend trips to Wisconsin and endless debates about deep dish pizza, just like I did. We met at a mutual friend's 4th of July barbecue in 2022, and within 3 months I knew I wanted to marry her. She fit into my family effortlessly, joining us for Sunday dinners and holidays. My mother adored her. My father constantly reminded me how lucky I was. Our wedding was planned for a Saturday in October at St. Michael's Church in Old Town, with a reception at the Chicago History Museum. We'd invited 150 guests, friends, family, co-workers. I had spent months perfecting every detail: the vintage bourbon bar, the jazz trio for dinner, the rehearsal dinner at Gibson's Steakhouse, even the honeymoon suite in Maui. Everything was perfect. If you enjoy stories of cold-blooded revenge and shocking plot twists like this video, and subscribe. There are new, unreleased stories here every day, each one more intense than the last. The night before the wedding, I stayed with my father at the Palmer House Hotel. My mother and Megan were at another hotel with the bridesmaids, sticking to the old tradition of not seeing each other before the ceremony. Dad and I ordered room service and reviewed the final details, the seating chart, the timeline, everything. It felt like one of those perfect father-son moments I thought we'd share for years. Around 10:30 p.m., he went to the bathroom, leaving his iPhone unlocked on the table beside his coffee cup. I wasn't trying to snoop, but when a notification lit up the screen, my eyes instinctively drifted toward it. What I saw froze me in place. Text from Megan, sent at 10:28 p.m. Thank you for the unforgettable night, Robert. The way your lips explored every part of me won't leave my mind. I can't wait for the next time. You're incredible. P.S. Our story will be our secret. Attached was a photo, clear, intimate, undeniable. It looked like it had been taken the night before. In a hotel room. In that moment, my entire world collapsed. The woman I was marrying in less than 12 hours was sleeping with my own father, and the man I had admired all my life had not only betrayed me, but also my mother, who was probably helping Megan prepare for what she believed would be the happiest day of my life. The metadata on the photo showed it was taken at 11:47 p.m. the previous night, while I was at my bachelor party at Wrigley Field, celebrating my future happiness. When my father came out of the bathroom, I had already photographed everything on his phone using mine. Years of software work had taught me the value of documentation. I kept my voice steady and told him I needed sleep. He smiled and said, "Get some rest, son. Tomorrow's going to be the best day of your life." The irony was suffocating. After he left, I sat on the edge of the bed and replayed every suspicious moment from the past few months: Megan's sudden late nights, my father's new business trips, the strange glances between them at family dinners, the inside jokes, the perfume he complimented too eagerly. All the signs had been right there, but I ignored them because I trusted them completely. The betrayal wasn't just physical, it was calculated. They were going to let me walk down that aisle oblivious, smiling, believing in a life they had been quietly destroying. I didn't lash out. I didn't cancel the wedding on the spot. Instead, I made a decision that would define everything that followed. I was going to let them think they had gotten away with it. Until the exact moment I exposed them in front of everyone who mattered. My project management brain kicked into gear. I spent the next 3 hours crafting a plan. First, I uploaded all the photos and messages to a secure cloud server. Then I built a simple web page displaying everything clean, organized, impossible to deny. I generated a QR code that led straight to it. I designed it to look harmless, like a link to wedding photos or a digital GUESTBO. OK. At the hotel's business center, I printed 200 small cards with the QR code and a message. Scan for a special surprise from the bride and groom. It looked perfectly legitimate, the kind of modern, interactive detail couples include at weddings, and I knew the guests wouldn't be able to resist scanning it. Next, I called Rebecca Stone, my attorney, even though it was almost 2 in the morning. Rebecca had handled my real estate deals and business contracts for years, and she was one of the few people I trusted without question. She answered on the 3rd ring. Even at that late hour, she listened patiently as I explained everything. "Jonathan," she said softly, "I'm so sorry you're going through this. But I'm glad you're thinking clearly. First, do not sign any marriage documents tomorrow. As for the rest, what you're planning is completely legal. This is your wedding, your property, and your evidence. You have every right to share the truth about your own life." She also advised me to document everything with timestamps and to make sure there were witnesses to whatever unfolded. Then she made an unexpected offer. She would attend the wedding as my legal representative, blending in with the guests in case things escalated. "Sometimes," she said, "the best revenge is simply the truth. And sometimes the truth is more devastating than anything you could plan." I barely slept that night, but when morning came, I felt strangely calm. I showered, put on my custom-tailored Tom Ford tuxedo, and stared at myself in the mirror. The man looking back appeared composed and steady. I had spent years proving that I could handle pressure, solve impossible problems, and deliver results. Today would be the ultimate test. At the church, everything unfolded exactly as planned. The flowers were perfect, the music beautiful, and guests arrived dressed in their finest. My mother, Mary, looked radiant in her navy blue dress, completely unaware her world was about to collapse. My father, Robert, was acting the part of the proud father of the groom, shaking hands and joking about the weather and the Bears' upcoming season. Megan arrived in her $8,000 white gown, looking every bit the glowing bride. She kissed my cheek and whispered, "I can't wait to be your wife." The audacity was unreal. She had been in bed with my father less than 36 hours earlier, yet here she was, ready to vow eternal loyalty in front of God and everyone we knew. At the altar, I saw my father sitting in the front row, wearing his best suit and a smile that, to me, now looked like a mask. He gave me a thumbs up, the same gesture he'd given me at my college graduation, at my first promotion. And when I told him I wanted to propose to Megan, the hypocrisy made my stomach churn. But I kept my composure. Everything was moving exactly according to plan. Father Mackenzie began the ceremony, and I felt the weight of 150 pairs of eyes on us. My entire extended family was there. Megan's relatives from Wisconsin were there. Friends from college, co-workers from both our companies, everyone who mattered to us. My best man, Mike, stood beside me, completely clueless about what was about to unfold. Megan's sister, Sarah, beamed proudly as her maid of honor. During the early part of the ceremony, I had arranged for my wedding coordinator, Janet, to quietly distribute the QR cards to the guests. Janet was known for her discretion, and I told her they were a surprise for the reception. She didn't ask questions, she simply agreed. The timing was perfect. Guests were curious enough to scan the code, but polite enough that their phones were on silent. Out of the corner of my eye, I watched the first reactions. Uncle Frank scanned his card immediately. Within seconds, his expression shifted from curiosity to confusion to absolute horror. My cousin Jennifer covered her mouth. My boss, David, went pale and showed his phone to his wife, who gasped aloud. The reaction spread like wildfire. Guests whispered urgently, passed their phones around, stared at Megan, at me, at my father. Phones were lighting up everywhere. People exchanged shocked looks. The atmosphere in the church changed from celebratory to electric heavy with disbelief and tension. Still, the ceremony continued. Father Mackenzie was deep into his homily about love and trust when I noticed Megan's aunt showing her phone to Megan's mother. Her mother let out a soft cry and covered her mouth with a handkerchief. Then I saw my own mother scan the QR code. Her warm, loving smile vanished instantly. What replaced it was an expression of heartbreak I will never forget. Megan remained unaware, still facing forward, listening to the priest describe the sanctity of vows she had already shattered. My father began to look uneasy, noticing the frantic whispering around him. He leaned toward my mother to say something, but she jerked away from him, tears streaming down her face. Then came the moment I was waiting for. Father Mackenzie reached the traditional question. If any person can show just cause why these two may not be joined together in holy matrimony, let them speak now or forever hold their peace. I stepped forward and gently took the microphone from him. The entire church fell silent. I heard nothing but my heartbeat echoing in my ears. I turned to Megan, then to my father, then to the sea of guests, all of whom had already seen the truth. Yes, I said, my voice clear and steady. I have something to say. Megan turned toward me, confusion clouding her face. But as she looked at the guests' horrified expressions, the truth finally hit her. Her confusion turned to recognition, and then to pure terror. My father half rose from his seat, his face flushing red as he realized the secret he thought would stay buried had already been exposed. I loved you. Megan, I said, my voice firm but calm. I loved you with everything I had. Then I turned to my father. And you, Dad? I looked up to you my entire life. You were my hero, I said. My role model. The man who taught me about integrity and honor. The church was so silent you could have heard a pin drop. Even the children had stopped moving. Every single person was watching, waiting, holding their breath. I could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on all of us. But the most intimate betrayal demands the highest price. I continued, my voice calm but carrying every ounce of my pain. Last night, I discovered that the two people I trusted most in the world have been lying to me, deceiving me, and planning to let me walk down this aisle completely unaware of what they've done. Megan tried to speak, but no sound came out. My father was standing now, his hands trembling, desperately trying to figure out how to salvage what was left of his dignity. My mother was sobbing openly, not just from the betrayal itself, but from the public humiliation unfolding in front of everyone she'd ever known. The evidence is clear and undeniable, I said. And since the two of you chose to mock this sacred ceremony, I thought it was only appropriate that the truth be revealed here, publicly, where you plan to complete your deception. I gestured toward the congregation. Nearly every guest was holding their phone, staring at the explicit messages and photos time-stamped. Irrefutable proof of the affair. This wedding is over, I announced. And so is our relationship. Both of them. Chaos erupted instantly. Guests were shouting questions. Megan collapsed into hysterical sobs. My father tried to push through the crowd to reach me, but I was already turning away. I walked down the aisle with my head high, leaving behind the two people who had destroyed my trust, my family and the life I thought I was building outside. The crisp October air hit me like a reset button. For the first time since discovering the truth, I felt a strange, unexpected sense of liberation. Behind me, chaos continued. Megan's sobs, my father's frantic explanations, my mother crying in the arms of her sister. Guests spilled out of the church, in small clusters, some rushing after me to offer support, others whispering in disbelief about what they had witnessed. My best man, Mike, finally caught up to me on the church steps. Jesus Christ. Jonathan, he said, still processing everything. I can't believe they did that to you. How are you even standing right now? For the first time in months, I answered honestly. I'm better than I've been in a long time, I told him. The truth has a way of setting you free even when it hurts. Within hours, the story had spread far beyond St. Michael's. Several guests posted screenshots online, and by Sunday night the scandal was trending on Twitter and Facebook. Local Chicago news stations picked it up Monday morning. By Tuesday, national outlets were calling me, wanting interviews about the wedding that had gone viral for all the wrong reasons. I turned down most requests, but I agreed to one interview with a Chicago Tribune reporter who had covered my company before. I kept my statement short and respectful. I believe in the truth, I said. And I believe people have the right to know who they're really dealing with, especially when it involves trust and integrity. The consequences for Megan and my father were swift. Megan's marketing firm, known for promoting family values, terminated her within a week. Associating with her had become a liability. My father's real estate business suffered even more. In an industry built entirely on trust, his reputation collapsed overnight. Clients canceled contracts. His business partner of 15 years dissolved their partnership. My mother, Mary, filed for divorce 2 weeks later. After 35 years of marriage, she said she might have forgiven a private affair, but the fact that he was willing to destroy his own son's life, she told me, and would have let you marry her knowing what they did. That's something I can never forgive. Rebecca Stone handled everything efficiently. Since the wedding never became legally binding, there were no divorce proceedings between Megan and me. There were, however, financial matters to resolve. I had paid for most of the wedding, the venue, the catering, the honeymoon. I couldn't recover everything, but Rebecca negotiated settlements that covered a significant portion of my losses. More importantly, she protected my assets completely. Megan had no legal claim to anything I owned. The prenup we'd signed was airtight, but since there was no marriage, it hardly mattered. What mattered was that I was free financially and emotionally to start over. The aftermath was painful, but cleaner than I'd expected. My company was incredibly supportive. My boss, David, told me, "You showed real character. Most people wouldn't have had the strength to expose the truth the way you did." 3 months later, I made a decision that surprised even me. I accepted an offer from a tech company in Austin, Texas. It came through a professional connection, and the timing felt perfect. I needed distance from Chicago, from the scandal, from the memories. Austin offered a senior director role, a substantial salary increase, and the chance to work on cutting-edge AI projects before leaving Chicago. I had one last conversation with my father. He'd been trying to contact me for weeks, but I ignored every call. Then one Saturday morning, he showed up at my condo. He looked older, weaker, broken. "Son," he said quietly, "I know I can't undo what I did, but I need you to know that I'm sorry. I destroyed everything that mattered to me. I'll regret it forever." For the first time, I didn't feel anger. I felt pity. "Dad," I said, "I forgive you. Not because you deserve it, but because carrying anger around is exhausting and I have better things to do with my life." 6 months later, I was fully settled in Austin, working on projects that challenged me, surrounded by coworkers who knew nothing about my past unless I chose to tell them. I even started dating again slowly, carefully, with a new understanding of trust and red flags. The experience had sharpened my instincts in ways I didn't expect. I heard through my mother that Megan had moved back to Wisconsin to live with her parents, and that my father had taken a job as a sales associate at a small suburban real estate office. Their affair ended almost immediately after the wedding. It couldn't survive the brutal light of public exposure. The scandal that brought them together ultimately destroyed them both. People in Chicago still talk about my wedding day. It's become something of a legend in certain circles, but I rarely think about it anymore. I moved on. The betrayal that once felt like the end of my world became the beginning of a much better chapter. Sometimes the most devastating setbacks turn out to be the greatest opportunities for growth and renewal. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video and leave a comment with your thoughts. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit the notification bell so you don't miss new stories like this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.